Good morning, good morning. I'm going to start this video on how to build the windshield for your vehicle. Now the windshields could take on a couple of different shapes, and that is kind of up to you, and I'll show you the basics. This is the one I'm doing because I'm actually doing the orange car. So I've got my sketch all set, kind of played out for the overall dimensions to get started. The windshield can be a little tricky to start, but once you see how it's built, I think you'll find it's going to go pretty fast. So once again, I'm going to go into my project. You can see I built a windshield already, but just like you, when you start, I would start with just go create a document. Obviously, you could call it part 2, part 3, whatever, windshield, all caps, of course, and maybe with your last name on it. That can be helpful to separate yours from everybody else's, especially if you intend to share it with me at some point. Just like we've done before, I'm going to start a sketch on the front plane. So notice the sketch went there. I'm going to turn off the visibility of the other planes. And here we are. Now, when I look at my sketch here, I'm going to just simply start by making the dimensions, overall dimensions that I know. So I'm going to go like that. And I know this, I measured it front to back. Front to back, it's 2.35. Yours is going to be probably very different, but you'll have to check it out. The next thing I'm going to do is set up a line where I believe the two arcs meet. So I just bring a line. Notice I'm making it perpendicular and vertical. I hit escape. This line, this is going to give me my height. And in this case, I said the height was 0.375. So it's pretty shallow. It's not really, really tall. So I'm looking at this point where it starts to taper off and go to the other side. How far is that over? Oh, I already wrote it down as 0.8. So I'm going to do a dimension from here to there. That's 0.8. So now becomes the fun part, trying to come up with the angles. I know the height, I know the width, and now I just got to do my arcs. I like 3-point arcs because it tells you where to begin and where to end. And then you have to bring it in. Sometimes it's nice just to come in and just go, okay, I'm looking at that shape. It looks like it comes on a pretty steep angle, maybe like that. Did I put a dimension down? I haven't even put a dimension for these arcs yet. I figure it's going to be easier to draw the arc, see what looks best, and then worry about what dimension to make it. So I'm looking at that. It comes down at kind of a steeper angle there. Maybe something to that effect. What I don't want really is this corner to show up dramatically. So maybe I will reduce the height here so that the corner doesn't show up. So maybe 3.5 and see what that looks like. Yeah, gives you a nicer, cleaner line to it. I think that looks good. At this stage, I'm going to go backwards. I'm actually going to come up here. That looks like a 4. Put 4. Notice it just, and this one looks like 1.5. I just put them on, and now I'm going to add them to my sketch. Radius of 1.5, radius of 4.0. So when it comes to arcs, a lot of times you can't get exactly the right arcs. Most of you don't have circle templates and stuff, or this kind of thing where you can trace it out and try to get an idea of what it is. It's very common to go back and add those radiuses after you've did the drawing. So now I'm going to finish my sketch. Boom. It's fun. In this case, I like to do my extrusion. I'll pick both sectors, obviously, but I like to do it a second, so they go out from the center And it says that it's 1.5 wide, so I'm going to do 0.75. That's called a mid-plane extrusion, where you're going from the front view, but you're going back from the front view and forward from the front view at the same time. Mid-plane extrusion. That means our origin is right there, and our front view, if you turn it on, goes right through the center. You can see it. Right through the middle, not that we need it on right now. Now, what makes it look realistic is these fillets. We're going to put on these fillets. There's another thing that I wait and add the radiuses later on. So I'm going to go fillet. I think I had it written down as 0.3 as a guess. I'm going to pick this edge and that edge, and this edge and that edge, and take a look at it from the top. And doesn't it give it just the perfect amount of curve, and then it comes right up to this straight edge. So maybe a little too much, and that's the nice thing about it. You got your dimension here, 0.3. I'm going to fix that, and now I'm going to write that in, radius of 0.3. There we go. That wasn't so hard. Now to get it, obviously to cut it out of here, I'm going to just use my shell command. Shell, boom. Pick the bottom. Now if you pick the bottom, it's going to actually remove the surface on the bottom. So I'm going to pick the bottom, and look, it just automatically shells it for me. But the truth is I have to go back and take a measurement to see basically how thick the plastic is here, you know. So I'm using my dial caliber. Take it maybe a couple of different places. I got 0.05. 0.05. Oop, I go back and highlight it. 0.05. Check. Now I have it hollow. The other thing I like to do, and I haven't done it yet with this one, is I always go in here and rename this. I'm going to call it Windshield, all caps, of course. Why is this important? Because this is what shows up on your bill of materials, your BOM, your parts list. So it's something you want to do early on, so that when you put your assembly together and you go to do your BOM, your bill of materials, this is what shows up, and you're actually going to have it all written out in the correct wording and everything else. So it's not looking too bad. Now, as you can see, in order to attach it to the center of the car, or to the center part of the car, I got to have these couple of pegs that come down. It looks more difficult than it actually is. What we're going to do is we're going to put a sketch on this flat edge. That's the bottom, basically. And then I'm going to flip it over, right? And I'm going to draw one of them. And I'm just guessing on the location and size right now. Notice I try not to attach it to anything. And now I'm going to go, okay, from here to the center of that peg, I have written down, looks like it's 0.8. Sometimes it makes sense if you have a dial caliber or even a ruler, go back and just double check it to make sure it is an accurate measurement. Definitely 0.8. I got it 0.85. You better change that, 0.85. So 0.85. And then how far does it come in? Let's see, 0.75 that way. Oh, interesting. Now I want them spaced out perfectly. Why? Because it's important that they go into the two holes that I've already created on my center part. So it's really imperative that you get it in the right spot. So I know from the origin, see how I put that there, to the center there, let's go dimension, from this point to the center, that's weird. Oh, dimension, I wasn't in dimension. Boom, to the center. I know this distance. So you want to make sure you pull it so it's vertical. I don't necessarily know how far it is from the outside edge, but I know from the middle because I know exactly how big the center part of my car is, so I know where the peg's got to be. They got to be out 0.375. And I've already measured the diameter of it. So I've got my 3 dimensions, and the diameter happens to be 0.375. Now, I can tell that I have 2 holes there, or I should say 2 circles, one inside circle, one bigger circle. So I'm going to do another circle that is concentric. So I'm going to pick the center, bring it up, and then I have to dimension that one as well. And that one is going to be, darn, I don't think I wrote down the dimension. So I'm going to use my inside dial caliber here. Get the inside of that. I like to get it right on the very edge too. Looks like 0.275. 0.275. I'm going to make note of that. Now what you could do is this one, OD, outside diameter, ID, inside diameter. So I'm going to list it as the ID, the inside diameter of 0.275. The outside diameter is 0.375. ID and OD, pretty common. I'm going to finish my sketch. Now, when I go to extrude this is the change. I'm going to pick the profile that I want to extrude. That would be this. And it goes down. I want it to go up, but I don't want it to go up to a blind distance. I want it to go up to next, which means it's just going to go up until it hits something. And that's the best way to do that, so that it ends up being right up and touching the top. Now, you and I both know it goes down as well, but that's easy to do. Actually, let's go back and see if I can't do that. I haven't tried that one yet, so let's go second end position. Oh, no. Merge all. Let's see, offset distance. Nope. Because typically, I was hoping to do a second end position. Switch position. No, doesn't seem to be doing that. Yeah, well, cancel. This is how I typically do it. I go back in and I make another sketch right on the end, just like we did before. I like to, just to be sure, I use my use. It's called use or convert entities. And I come in and I just pick. As soon as I pick that, it puts those black lines back on my new sketch. Check. And now I can extrude that one. Boom. Down. And it comes down 0.2. 0.2. These are measurements that I gathered earlier. And there we have one of the pegs. Now, as you may recall from doing the car body and a number of other parts, we're going to use a mirror command to mirror it over. But before we do that, you'll notice that there's this groove that goes right down through the center here, this little groove right here. To make that, once again, it's a little easier than you think. It depends on how you approach it. I'm going to put a sketch right on the end, and that groove goes front to back. So I'm just going to use, oh, be careful. You want to use your center point rectangle, because I know where the center is. Now I just have to make a rectangle. And I did measure that. I measured it, but I didn't write it down, so I'm going to have to write that down. So here we go. That can be wrong. It says 0. Let me go back in. There we go. Oh, I got 0.05. Almost 0.06. So I'm going to dimension. This is the only dimension that matters. 0.05. I'm going to finish my sketch. And I'm going to extrude, remove this time. Now, you can pick the whole thing, you know what I mean? Or you can just pick the 2 ends there. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is the depth. Once again, I'm using my dial caliber. using the depth tool on dial caliper to see how far down it goes. Gotta make sure I write these things down here. The depth I have on that is 0.57. Let's see what it looks like. Just see what that looks like. Ooh. Wait a minute. That can't be right. Oh yeah, I guess it could be. Let me just double check my measurement here. I would do it at 0.45. 0.45. 0.42. Oh, see, that's what you didn't. See how that popped right in there? You got to go back to edit. And remember when you picked the face, the edges, one of them you don't need. This one, technically, you don't even need. So I wonder if we cut. Let's see which one we get rid of. Boom. Yeah, check. The other thing is you could have just shortened up your rectangle in that sketch. So really, I could have gone in and just edit the sketch and got rid of that rectangle. Edit the sketch border. And see how far I brought this out? I didn't have to have it out that far. I can actually grab that and just drag it in. And in which case, it wouldn't cut through the top. That looks pretty good. It does look like that's kind of rounded. So maybe I'll just throw some fillets on that. So I'm going to go fillet. We said it was 0.05, so 0.025 would be exactly half of it. So that's going to give you that corner. Let me go to this corner. Now, some programs allow you to pick that corner, but this one doesn't. So I'm going to have to kind of sneak in there and grab that corner. Notice I'm just picking the edge. And let's see if I can grab that last one. There we are. Check. And all I did was round over those little edges. That's all I did. Now, those of you that haven't done this yet, you're going to have to learn it anyway. So I'm going to insert a plane. And I'm just going to pick this edge. Notice there's a little flat edge here. Pick that flat edge. And right now it's set for offset. It's offsetting out. But I'm going to go back and say I want a mid-plane. So that if I pick this edge, I have a plane in the middle. And it made it a small plane. The plane is endless technically, but because the surface that I picked was so small that it made it a pretty small plane. It doesn't really matter. Now I'm just going to go to mirror. I'm going to start to pick the things that I need to pick to select. So we did a shell, then we did extrude. Let's make sure. Oh, I know why. You always got to say features, not a part. So we're going to go back and take a look at it. 1 extrude, 2 extrude, fillet. That should do it. Don't pick the plane because you'll be copying the plane over. Now I'm going to pick the plane. I'm going to select it in here, and I'm just going to pick on the plane here, and you get the other part. Now that looks pretty good, and that's about it. Now, to make it look better, we're going to right-click on this and just change Edit Appearance. Mine has it's a clear orange color, so I'm just going to pick orange color. Something to that effect. Orange. It's almost an orange yellow. That looks pretty good. What you don't know is, and I was playing around with this last night, if you just bring it in and make it transparent, even this little bit amount, it does make it look better. So now all of a sudden you can see it looks like glass. And that's a pretty good example of how to set up a windshield. Hopefully that helps you. I'll talk to you soon.